my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the hottest Golden Age comics of the week. And this is going to be a pretty cool list. I'm actually going to do a second video that's going to air later about one of the books that I didn't include in this list that could have been, well, could have been, maybe, is, probably the steal of the week. I'm doing it as a separate video because it has a double meaning in this case. It's a very special book. Stay tuned for that video. It's going to air later tonight. Also, something that's going to air later tonight is I'm going to be on Dope Comix Channel at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you go, I'll link to his channel in the description. So if you want to watch me live, I'm going to show my biggest Golden Age DC comics. So definitely check that out on Dope's channel at 7 o'clock tonight. So a couple of things happening later tonight on this channel and on his channel. Okay, so let's get into the real steal of the week, which was Beverly Hills of Hollywood #1. Now this is a book from 1949. It's a Bob Oskner cover, and it's just a cool, like, celebrity kind of cool comic. Now this one is actually kind of a interesting comic in a different way as well. So this is a book that was from a pedigree, not a real pedigree, like one that's recognized by CGC or whatever, but it is a pedigree in the respect that it is a book which comes from a collection. And it's called the Generations Collection from Flagstaff, Arizona. And okay, yeah, so it was a 40,000 comic collection. Like, there was 40,000 comics in the collection, and it spanned 3 generations. It was started originally by Eldon Gibson in 1940, and then his son kind of took on the torch of collecting comics. And then his son's daughter, so 3 generations, started collecting comics. And so it really encompasses from 1940 all the way up to 2008. It's a multi-generation collection. And, you know, it's not a recognized pedigree, but it is kind of a pedigree. So yeah, so this was a pretty cool steal of the week because not only did it, did it go for a great price, it went for an amazing price. I was actually debating about bidding on it, but I knew somebody else that was bidding on it, so I passed on it. I really wanted this book too, but I passed on it. It was a 6.5 that sold, and it sold for $258, which is a great price. Just to give you a sense of how great of a price this is, there was no prior in-grade sales, so this is the highest sale, for this book in this grade. But there was a 6.0 that had sold back in 2012, so almost over 10 years ago, and it sold for more. It sold for $394. So for this book, which is a higher grade, to sell for less and 10 years later is just insane. This is just a really great sale. This book is quite rare too. There's only 21 on the census, and of those, only 20 are blue labels. So this was a 6.5, $258. It's just such a great price. That was just a major steal. Really cool book, one that I'm actually looking for in my collection, but I'll probably have to pay more, which is sad. Okay, so the next one, number 9 on the list, is Cinderella Love number 29. Now this book is barely Golden Age. I actually kind of say that it's Atomic Age because it does have the Comic Code Authority on it, but I'm including it in this Golden Age thing because it's one of those ones where, like, for 1955, it's kind of like the end of the Golden Age where the codes start appearing on the comics. And for example, in DC Comics, they don't even consider the end of the Golden Age until 1958. So the Golden Age is kind of has a weird end, a bit of a fuzzy end. I personally consider the end of the Golden Age to be when the Comic Code Authority stamp gets put on the book. But this one kind of squeaks in as being a Golden Age comic. But it's from October of 1955. The code didn't really get applied until March of 1955. So that's, yeah, that's where the code comes in. The reason this book is kind of a cool book is it's a Matt Baker cover. Now, Matt Baker is a hot artist. It's kind of weird to think of artists as being hot when they are long past. I mean, he's a Golden Age artist, but he is one that's very, very hot right now. A lot of people are chasing after anything with Matt Baker associated to it. So the Cinderella Loves, though, for Matt Baker are considered some of his best work. So a lot of people are chasing after these books. Now, this is not, personally, I don't think this is one of his better ones from the Cinderella Love. And that's maybe why it sold for what I'm going to tell you. But this is, it is an interesting sale. It was a 1.8 and it sold for $899. Now that actually isn't a very strong sale. There's no prior record for this grade. So it's a record. Like, it's a record by default rather than, having beaten out other books in the past. But it's not actually that strong of a sale because there was actually a 1.5 that sold, so a lower grade that sold for $1,151. So I would have expected this book to sell for around that $1,300 range, $1,200-$1,300 range. Probably 13 would probably be fair. So this is a little bit under what I would have expected this book to sell for. It was an eBay sale, and I think what happened was the initial bid, which was $899, was what was the final bid. There was just no multiple bids on it. I just maybe an overlooked listing. So somebody got a bit of a deal on this book as well. So just a really interesting one. There's only 19 of these on the census. All of them are Universal Blue Labels. So just a rare semi-Golden Age book from Matt Baker. Just a classic cover. Okay, so the next book on this list is one that I own myself, and I actually really like this book. This is Casper the Friendly Ghost #1. Now, actually, Casper the Friendly Ghost #1, I actually saw it on, I'm not sure if it was on Comic Tom's or Lords of the Long Box. I know it was on Lords of the Long Box, but I wasn't sure if it was on both. But it was on both. It was on one of the lists, at least. And it's a book from 1949 from Harvey Publications. And it's the first appearance of Casper the Ghost. So a really cool book. And they were going on about it on Lords of the Long Box, saying, oh, how, it's this, obscure Golden Age book. And, it was a pretty big sale that they were going on about. And that's what I'm going to get into on this one. This is kind of a weird one as well. So this was a 4.0 sale. And it sold for $2,035. Now, this book had no prior sales in this grade again. So we don't know how this stacks up compared to other books in grade. So, because there are no other previous sales. So this is a record, but again, by default. But there was a 3.5 that had sold back in June of 2022 for $2,280. So this is actually down from that prior record set for the 3.5. So it's about 10% down. So this was actually a bit of a steal for this book. It was actually a pretty good price. Personally, my copy is a 2.0. And my copy I bought for $1,849 back in February of 2023. So this year, I bought my copy. So I wish I could have gotten that 4.0 for just a couple $100 more. That would have been a really great deal. So this is, I think, just a really great deal that somebody got on this book. There's 56 of these on the census, and 54 of them are blue labels. So first appearance of Casper the Ghost, really cool book, and somebody got a great price on it, I think. Number 7 on this list is Ginger number 1, another book that I have in my collection. Actually, I have a higher grade than the one that's sold here. Mine's a raw copy though. This is from Archie from 1951. It's a George Fries cover. It's a headlight cover. It's kind of that typical schoolgirl having a crush on the teacher. It's like when I saw this book for the first time, it was like several years ago. I was like, wow, that is a great cover. And it's, Ginger's first title. It's just a great, that typical kind of sweater headlight cover style. So just a really great cover if you like good girl art. And that's one of the appeals of this book. And this was a pretty big sale that happened for this book. It was for a 2.0, and it sold for $500. Now, the prior record was actually set this year, back in February, for $360. So this is up from only a February sale like a couple months ago. So this is like a pretty big climb in value. So it sold for $500. Now, when I bought my copy is like maybe a 5.0, maybe a 6 if I'm lucky. I paid about $400 or $300 to $400 for it. So it's gone up. This book has steadily gone up over the years. Just a really great cover. What's happening is I find that people are looking to Archie Comics for these kind of good girl covers. And there are a lot of really great good girl art covers within Archie. And Ginger is one of those titles that has just these really fun good girl art covers. So this is probably the best from the run, actually. Ginger number 1. And yeah, collectors are going after it. So there's 35 of these on the census, and that's it. There's 35 universals on the census for this book. So just a great book from 1951, Ginger number 1, record sale. Okay, number 6 on the list. Now this is an interesting one. This is Detective Comics 120. And this is from February of 1947. It's a Win Mortimer cover. And it's just a cool penguin cover. That's all it's going for. It's not a key in any particular way. Penguin is like in a bird cage. It's just a really cool penguin cover. The problem with Penguin is he actually doesn't have many great covers. Like he has his cover where he's on the ostrich and stuff like that. But in the Golden Age, he didn't really have that many great covers. His first appearance, no, not on the cover. It's just like he doesn't really have these really great covers in the Golden Age. In the Silver Age, he has lots of really great covers. But in the Golden Age, not so much, I found. This is one of the better ones for Penguin. I think it's better than the ostrich one. And this was a really high grade that sold. So this is a 9.0 that sold. And it sold for $3,933.95. It was obviously an auction. It just like went for that right down to the penny kind of thing. And it had a prior record for the same grade of $3,707. So it's up about $200 from the prior record. But just to give you a sense of, this book is the 4th highest graded copy of this book. So it's a 9.0, and it's the 4th highest grade. Now, just to give you a sense of how much that difference in being a 9.0 compared to a 9.6, which is the highest grade. A 9.6 sold back in 2001 for $40,800. just like 10 times more expensive for that slight boost in grade. So, having the highest grade in these Golden Age comics really commands big money. And something to look for, if you can find those high grade copies, if you have the highest grade on the census, you can almost sort of pick how much you want to sell for it. It's kind of crazy how much value people give to those super high grades in the golden age. Now there are 90 of these on the census, and 82 are universal blue labels. So just a really interesting book. Nothing, as I said, not a key or anything, but just an interesting sale to see these high grade golden age books come up for sale. Okay, next book on the list is one that actually I'm bidding on right now as we speak. This is a sale that happened before this auction that I'm watching right now. You're probably watching this. I'm actually bidding on this book. This is Miss America, Volume 1, Number 2. And this is a 1944 timely book. It is the first appearance of Patsy Walker in comics. It's also the origin of Miss America, who's actually the girl that's on the cover of this book. It's a photo cover, and what they did is they got a young girl to dress up as Miss America. And her name was Dolores Conlon. Okay, Conlon. Wow, totally messed up her name. Dolores Conlon, who's on the cover, and she was like 15 at the time, 15, 16. It's debatable. I found her obituary, so based on her obituary, she would have been 16, but just, she was a music teacher. She wasn't even a model. She just did this one-off kind of cover for this book, and she became Miss America as a result. This is a 1944 timely book, cool book with the first appearance of Patsy Walker. Well, this was I think this sale was inspired by the auction that I'm watching, because I think somebody just wanted to grab it before the auction results ended up. So what happened was this was a 2.5 sale, and it sold for $2,949, which is quite high actually for this book. There are no prior records for this book in grade, but a 1.8 had sold back in 2021 for $853. So this is like several times higher than the 1.8 had sold for, like almost 4 times higher than the 1.8. Now there was a 4.0 that had sold back in 2021 as well. It sold for $4,080. So this is kind of in line with that 21 sale, the 2021 sale. But it's just a interesting book. It's one that I desperately want for my collection, because it's I do want to get the first appearance of Patsy Walker. So please don't bid on it. Just an aside. There's 25 of these on the census, blue labels, and 23 blue labels and 25 altogether on the census. I'm hoping to win this book, and you might see it in a future unboxing if I'm successful. We'll see. We'll see on that one. Okay, number 4 on the list is World's Finest Comics number 3. Now this is another book I'd love to have in my collection. I do not have this book. It is from October of 1941. It is a baseball cover. And that is probably the reason this book isn't as valuable as it could be. It is actually the first appearance of the Scarecrow, and it's his origin as well. It's the last time that we see Johnny Thunder in this title, and it's also the first time we see Sandman in this title. So this becomes like a like a transition between those two characters. Now this book is, because it is the first appearance of the Scarecrow, and I think it's actually, he only appears maybe a couple times within the Golden Age, and then he doesn't appear until later, until the Modern Age, or the Silver Age, I should say. This is one of those kind of hits and misses kind of thing. It's a cool book because it is the first Scarecrow, but because it's a baseball cover where it's like Batman playing baseball and with Superman and all that, it's not him on the cover, and because it just doesn't have that cool cover, often it can even sell for less than the first cover appearance of the Scarecrow, which is very odd. So his first appearance doesn't do that well often. But this was a pretty big sale. This was for a 2.0, and it sold for $3,250. Now, the prior record to this sale was for $2,760 back in 2021. So yeah, so it's just it is a slight uptick, maybe 10% uptick in value. You know, like 10-15%. So it's just, this book, it's just, it really does suffer. If the Scarecrow was on the cover, I think this book would have been like 2-3 times what it sold for. What do you think about that? Actually, I'd be curious what other people think about these cover first appearances, like when they have a really bad cover. Like, it's not a bad, like, it doesn't look that bad, but it just doesn't reflect the Scarecrow's first appearance. It's not him on the cover. When it has the the superhero on the cover, or the villain in this case, first appearance, what do you think? Do you think that should make a huge difference in value? And I'd like to hear people's opinion on that. Now, this book is actually fairly common for the Golden Age. There seems to be a lot of them on the census. There's about 153 of these on the census, and of those, 123 of them are universal blue labels. So just a interesting book. Bit of an upswing for this book. No pun intended with baseball, but it is a cool book. First appearance of the Scarecrow. And number 3 on the list is another Cinderella Love. It's Cinderella Love 25. Now, the funny thing about this book is I actually almost purchased this exact copy. So it was an interesting one, because this is considered to be Matt Baker's probably best work. Now, some people will argue that 7 Seas Matt Bakers are better, but that's one of those debates about Matt Baker that collectors have. But a lot of people consider Cinderella Love 25 to be Matt Baker's finest cover ever. So and you can have that debate, which you can say in the comments below which cover you think is better. But this one is a great cover. It's it's got that kind of celebration kind of element to it, kind of Mardi Gras kind of feel to it. This is from December of 1954. It's from St. John Publications. Now, this was an interesting book because it was a 1.8. And actually, what happened was this book was actually listed on my comic shop. Now, it's actually sold through eBay, which is so sad, because that means that person probably paid about 20% more for the book than they could have gotten it if they just bought it directly from my comic shop. But it sold for $4,300. Now, the funny thing is, had the guy accepted my offer, I actually offered $4,000 for this book. And he would have gotten more money had he just accepted my offer on my comic shop. So, oh well. It didn't happen. I didn't buy this book. So this is a 1.8 conserved, and it has leaf casting. Now, the leaf casting is actually pretty extensive on this book. It's all along the edges of the book. It's actually within the pages of the book. I have a feeling what happened was probably the cover was completely split, and the pages themselves were split. So somebody had restored the comic or conserved the comic through leaf casting, which is a process of basically adding pulp to the comic to basically help with the structure of the book. So this was conserved grade, which is better than restoration, but still, this you wouldn't believe how much conserved grades kill the value of the book. So I'm going to explain that to you. So this sold for $4,300, right? Now, the prior record for a conserved 1.8, probably the same book, was $3,400. $3,550 in February of 2023. So just a few months ago, the same book had sold for $3,550. Now, this is up. This is up about 20% from that, 15% above that previous sale. Now, that is for a conserved grade. The same blue label in a 1.5, so a lower grade, sold for $6,000 in July of 22. So, that's a huge difference in price based on conserved versus blue label. Just the conserved books just get about almost half the value as a blue label. Kind of sad to see, but that's the state. So what do you think? Should a conserved book get more value than half, or should it get maybe like less value? It's all up to you. I'm curious what people think about that. Personally, I think when it's in these low grades, like a 1.8, it's pretty low grade. Even if you remove that restoration, actually, because it was pretty extensive, probably get a 0.5. And that's maybe what people were bidding based on. That it's really not something that could be even close to that 1.8. So when it's extensive restoration, and a conserved book can be extensive, yeah, it doesn't necessarily command as much money. So I'd be curious what people think about how to value those conserved grades. This book has 26 on the census in any version, and there's 23 blue labels on the census. So just an interesting one. It is the grail, like it is a book that I definitely want in my collection. I did try to buy this exact copy, but I missed out. So yeah, the guy didn't accept my offer. Oh well. So number 2 on the list is another, actually this book I actually do own. This is Dizzy Dames number 1. This is from October of 1952. It's an ACG, or American Comics Group. It's a Ogden Whitney cover. Just a really great book. It's so the Dizzy Dames are basically, it's like these kind of ditzy girls that are like, they just do really stupid things. It's girls being stupid, basically, is the whole theme. It's a humor publication, and it just happens to have really great good girl art covers. Number 4 of the series is my favorite. So I recommend, if you ever look for number 4 of Dizzy Dames, it has just a really great cover. I really like it. But this book had a record sale, and it was for a 7.0, and it sold for $900. The prior record for this book was set in 2019 for $850. The weird thing was that this book actually had dipped in value. There was a sale back in, I think it was in January of this year, for $663. So this was actually, it had gone, it was at $850, then it dropped this year back down to $663. Now it's back up again for a new record at $900 for a 7.0. Really great grade for this book, actually. I think that's, to me, seems like a really great price for this book. There are 34 books, universal blue labels on the census, and that's all the census. So just a great one. Dizzy Dames number 1 from 1952. Okay, number 1 on the list. Okay, what's the number 1 book? Well, it's All Winners number 15. This is a timely comic from 1945. This is an amazing cover. So this is purely a cover buy for whoever bought this book. It's an Alex Schomburg cover. You got bombers in the background of the cover, just like dropping their bombs. You got Bucky with 2 machine guns. It's like, this is like a little boy, and he's like shooting 2 machine guns. He's like blasting all these Japanese. And then you got Captain America, and he is like using his shield to bash some Japanese soldier. And they have like, it's a typical Schomburg propaganda cover too, where the Japanese are really accentuated with their, you know, big buck teeth and glasses, goofy looking Japanese soldiers. And it's meant to really, you know, hit home that these are like the enemy, you know. And the other cool thing is they got Submariner on the cover as well, and he's like in his giant form, and he's ripping apart a bridge. It's a train cover. All these Japanese soldiers are in a train. Just so much going on, and that's so typical for Alex Schomburg. When he makes these early timely covers, he was putting so many details, so many things of action. Like there's like not just one story being told in this cover, it's like a bunch of stories happening. It's just so much happening in this cover, and that's what the appeal of this cover is. It's just an amazing book. Yeah, just a really great Alex Schomburg cover. So this one was a 5.5 sale, and it sold for $3,600. Really great sale. The prior record for this book was $2,665 back in last year. It just happened last year. It's up 35% from last year. And again, what's happening is there are certain artists like Matt Baker, which we've seen on this list, and now we're seeing Alex Schomburg is another hot artist that people are kind of chasing after. And they are, you know, these books are commanding more money each year. And that's what happens with this one. This is a great Alex Schomburg cover. You don't see it come up very often. And when it does, it always sets a new record. So this is Alex Schomburg's All Winners Comics number 15 from 1945. Right? It was spring of 45, so almost at the end of the war, too. There's 59 of these on the census, and 58 of them are blue labels. So that is it for this video. Remember to check out later on tonight. I will air another video where I'll be talking about a very interesting sale that happened, a bit of a steal of the week. And also check out Dope Comix Channel at 7 o'clock Eastern, where I'll be showing my biggest DC Golden Age books. And I'll be also joined with another great collector, Man Cave Comics. So he's going to be showing his greatest books, and his books probably make mine look lame. So it will be a great show. Definitely check that out. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.